bitch, the ribbon Coca-Cola. We invented the cherry tomato and Waze USB drives and the Iron Dome. Israeli salad, Uzi Stenson, Jaffa's orange crow. Microchips is us, iPhone cameras us, taco salads us, Podamos us, Olive Garden us, White Cluster us, Sabra Hamas, Hezbollah us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bad Hezbollah,
the world's most moral podcast.
That's
We're
right.
here.
We are here, and that is producer Adam. All three of us together. That means it's a special episode. It is a mailbag episode of Bad Hezbollah. My name is Matt Lieb. I'll be your world's most moral co-host for this podcast.
I'm Daniel Mate, second most moral co-host in the world. All
Producer
yours.
Adam, I'm producing.
That's right. Morally.
And in some ways hosting, because you're going to be throwing, you're going to be pitching. And
That's
we're gonna
right.
be catching.
We're going to be catching. You'll be pitching.
Yeah, let's use different words.
Okay, you'll
What,
be
you don't
topping.
like baseball, Adam?
You'll
The
be
American
topping.
pastime? You got something wrong with American pastime?
We'll bottom for you, and you top.
Thank you, yeah.
Shout out to producer Adam Levin, who's here. 5 stars on a review on all of the podcast apps. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. Nothing should get you hitting that subscribe button faster than an episode full of mailbag questions. Clearly will be one of our most popular episodes
Well,
out there.
look, no, but you're joking, but
I am.
It's deadly serious.
It is deadly
Because
serious.
this, folks, is part 2 of our mailbag episode. You're
That's
coming
right.
in midway. You're not going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be difficult to catch up, but you pay attention, stay on your toes. You'll get there. But if you don't want to be left behind next time, if you want to hear part 1 of the mailbag episode and not have to join midway through like some schmuck, go to patreon.com/badhasbarra. Get all the damn episodes.
That's right. You get all of them. Not
But
only
there was
do you
some
get
good ones too. There were
Oh,
some good ones. in that
yes.
first
Oh yeah, there were great questions in the first half. I mean, I'm honestly I don't think this second half is gonna, reach even close to the level.
How could
of
it?
Quality questions. So if you don't want to miss out on that, also you don't want to miss out on a weekly bonus episode of this podcast. Well then join patreon.com/badhasbarra.
What did we talk about? We talked about the Coen brothers. We talked about Jewish literature. We talked about subreddit r/Jewish.
Yeah. We talked
Talked
I
about-
dropped a ska playlist.
a ska
Skyline,
playlist.
yeah.
We talked about liberal Zionism. We talked about techniques for talking to family members or friends. We talked about all sorts of shit. I don't even remember half of it, but it was sick. So you should listen to that episode. But since you're here, we might as well fill up your piggy trough with some delicious
Sloppy seconds.
That's right. You're getting sloppy seconds. Today's episode is brought to you by Bridge of Solidarity. Bridge of Solidarity is an anti-capitalist mutual aid organization founded in Gaza by Yazan and Mawasi. Why can't I ever read that word correctly? In Khan Yunis. All the money goes directly to people in need of support. These efforts are focused on the most marginalized people in Gaza, at risk of dying, people without phones, who can't speak English, who can't post on social media, don't have wealthy relatives, and may not even have any living relatives. So these efforts actively combat genocide capitalism with mutual aid. And we could not recommend this more highly. So please, if you have any money, the first mailbag episode is not that good. So please take that money and go to bit.ly/Bridge of Solidarity and donate now. Daniel, it wouldn't
Homie.
be Bad Hezbollah without hearing about spins. What is it? The spin.
Well, this just arrived today, and I'm just so incredibly excited about it. It's my first time doing a box set on this episode on this show. This is a big, thick ass box set called Joni's Jazz.
Whoa.
And it's from Joni Mitchell's website, directly. That's a picture of her with Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter. And it's an
Cool.
eight record box set taken from across her career of song, and she picked them herself, sort of spanning the songs that track the jazz influence in her music. And it goes all the way from her folky era all the way through the Newport folk festival performance she did with Brandy Carlisle and people of both sides now last year or this year. And it's beautiful. I saw one CBC interviewer or segment talking about how this box set chronicles Joni Mitchell's controversial jazz phase, and that's just total horseshit. She doesn't have a jazz phase; she has a jazz
career
thread through her entire career, which is got more and more pronounced as the 70s wore on, and she was working with Jaco Pastorius and Charles Mingus and Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and all that. But it was always there, and it's not controversial; it's essential. So this is beautiful. There's a cover of Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man that she does, which is amazing. Some great unreleased demos from the early 80s, but it's got some stuff on it that previously just wasn't available on record from her late 80s, early 90s albums that are some of my favorites. So that's what's spinning in my house today.
I love it. I love me some Joni Baez. That's my Joni. But Mitchell is good too.
You love Joni Holloway. Let's be Joni. Fair.
So that's what's spinning, and of course,
actually, Christina Hendricks liked a reel I was in for Oxfam Canada. I sent it to you. Me and a bunch of other Canadian nobodies were recruited by Oxfam to do one of these videos where we all read a script and they cut it together and all that kind of stuff, and telling Canada to stop arming Israel and all that stuff.
If she liked it and you showed it to me, I assume my next what I texted you back with was ask her to be a guest on the show.
I think your words were boy.
I shouldn't have done it, and you shouldn't have revealed it. But let's be honest. Christina Hendricks, the perfect woman, does exist. Oh, she's the best, and also just a fantastic actress. She's really the star of Mad Men, in my opinion. Outside of Don Draper, I think Don Draper overrated. I am all about
boobies, boobies, boobies,
boobies, long legs, red hair. Hold me, you're my mom. Oh, anyways, so that's what's
on to the serious topic of the day.
On to the mailbag. Let's talk about it. What do we got? Adam is going to be quarterbacking us through this, so you go ahead.
All right, to reiterate from the Patreon app, just the messages have been edited lightly for brevity. Messages that have been omitted are requests for specific guests to appear, requests for topics that have been covered since the message came, statements, messages that ask us to read or listen to something else and comment on it.
Okay.
So, we begin with Scott.
Did you pick it because of it sounds like ska?
Yeah,
yes.
Just because you like ska so much, you're like, I like that. His name sounds like my favorite genre.
Exactly, and that's, of course, bit.ly, Skazbara. That is my ska playlist for the show.
AKA What's the Skank?
Yes.
All right. First time, long time, week 1. Since our current administration clearly revels in Nazi rhetoric and tactics, I see a possibility of the furthest right cohorts being able to put the blame for our upcoming economic collapse at the feet of the genocide being carried out by Israel. The chance for an American Kristallnacht isn't outside the realm of reality, especially if Soros can be inserted even more into the dialogue. How do you guys think the state of American Judaism will hold up with its already strained connections?
That is a good question, actually.
We're talking about the threat of serious anti-Semitic reprisals by the state against Jews here for what Israel has done.
I mean, by the state or not, I think is either one is valid. I think in terms of by the state, I don't have any short-term serious concerns, just because of the nature of the bought and paid for nature of the state and the way in which the American political class and media class is so in its own Zionist bubble that it's I don't necessarily see them falling into a, I don't know. I don't
see them going down that rabbi hole.
I don't see them going down that rabbi hole in the short term for sure.
And
but
the rabbi hole is that grate in Bed-Stuy that the guys were coming out.
Yes, that rabbi hole is well,
Crown
we've all
Heights,
seen
actually.
it.
Yeah.
My favorite Jefferson Airplane song, White Rabbi.
Yeah. One shill makes you larger. Okay, so but in terms of, this question of like the furthest right cohorts putting the blame on the upcoming economic collapse of the United States on Israel, I mean, yeah, of course, they're going to do that. That is not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, it is kind of in the nature of the furthest right cohort. The chance for an American Crystal Night. I mean, honestly, I truly one of the reasons that this podcast was created was seeing the American Jewish community and our Jewish institutions being so wrapped up in their Zionism and living in their own bubbles, so much that they didn't understand that all of their alliances in the United States with the right were going to end up, coming back around and, stabbing them in the back. I mean, it's like they're shooting themselves in the foot with it. I don't see it outside of the realm of possibility at all. I mean, obviously, for the last 2 years, there have been all of these claims of anti-Semitic incidents in which it is, that have been completely made up or have been clearly politically motivated incidences of people protesting Israel and it being conflated as anti-Semitism. To a degree that it cheapened what anti-Semitism actually is, and it cheapened the smear and the accusation of it to the point where, yes, I think that people are going to you're going to see more and more attacks. It is not forefront in my mind. That's kind of the way I look at it. I do think it's going to happen, and yes, it is going to be bad. And I'm not sitting here blaming, I'm like, oh, the Jews, you brought it upon yourself. But I will say our institutions are very much bringing it upon themselves. Our institutions are being stupid, short-sighted, genocidal, and fucking cowardly in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I do see our institutions as leading us down this particular path. And it is, again, not the first thing I think about when I think about this stuff. I think about a genocide that's happening, and yeah.
That's not speculative at all. Look, we haven't talked about the attack in Manchester. On Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
I don't know about the motivations of that attacker. I haven't read enough about it, but that strikes me as it could plausibly be a stochastic case of reprisal against Jews for what Israel is doing, which would be condemnable as it already is horrific. But when we're using analogies like Kristallnacht, I think we have to be very careful.
I agree.
Because Kristallnacht was a state project. It was a state-endorsed night of terror, widespread against Jewish businesses and homes all over the place. And it was a calculated tactic, and it was part of a program that a political party which rose to power was enacting, and it was part of a continuous trajectory. I do not see any possibility for that in the United States. I see no comparison, and I think it's tempting if we think about, some Jewish businesses were attacked and burned and windows were smashed. I can imagine some windows being smashed in a JCC or a synagogue here, but I simply cannot imagine it being egged on or supported by anyone with any kind of power. And frankly, that includes like any major tranche of the right-wing podosphere I just don't see it. I think Christian Zionists that like have too much power in this country, and you just simply wouldn't be able to sell that. And I don't see any evidence that that's what things are building to. Deep resentments building in many pockets of the country against, where Jews are associated, rightly or wrongly, with the elite, with Hollywood, all of that blowing back in various ways. Ignorance about Jews spreading, yes. But until such time as we have a genuine anti-Israel force on the right rising to power and trying to use that for a political project, I don't see it happening. And the trend I'm seeing is that the fealty to Israel, even among the most chuddy, Pepe-ish fucking administration we've ever had, doesn't speak very affirmatively about that being the future that we're entering.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more pessimistic about it. I think you're right in the short term. I think in the long term, anything is possible. And I think based on the history of the way in which anti-Semitism has been utilized in the past, by whether it's the fucking czar or any European institutions.
And I guess if the question is how are people going to respond to the coming economic collapse, well, then then I have to place myself in a world that we're not currently living in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I see it as like not at all outside of the realm of possibility that the blowback from this is going to, be, manifested by actual anti-Semitic hate crimes happening. And so whether it's the Crystal Night comparison is apt or not, I mean, I don't see that happening on a state level or systemic level in the United States in the short term. I don't put anything outside of the realm of possibility when it comes to the future of this country, especially once we, do undergo a serious economic catastrophe, which I also see as very possible.
Here's what I want to know. Why in his long and illustrious career has Billy Crystal not put out a special called Billy Crystal Nacht?
That's a great question. Yeah. Yeah.
It's unknowable. Why
it's unknowable. Maybe it's because the political commentator and Zionist Bill Crystal already did that. But I mean, if you look at anti-Semitism, more historically and sort of holistically, and look at patterns of flare-ups, not so much in the United States, but in Europe and whatnot, like you could make the case for the blowback possibly, being something that you would describe as a pogrom or whatnot. And it is something, it's like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm sitting here, not what I want to know. What's
sorry. Just imagining a British claymation series called Wallace and Pogromit.
Stupid ass.
Like to go out for walkies, Pogromit, and kill some Jews?
Yeah. Oh, we just we're gonna get a group of Cossacks together, and we're gonna go and raid and burn a village. Yeah. With the big.
There's nothing I love better than a nice piece of cheese with a piece of meat at the same time to upset the koshers. Yeah. Isn't that right, Pogromit?
Yeah.
Pogromit
All
rolls
right,
his eyes.
So, an anonymous listener wants to needle some Zionists over a pin. Last year, I wore a Free Palestine pin while dropping my kid off at school, and some Zionist parents complained to the school. The school sent out a message to all parents asking us to refrain from any political messages on shirts or badges during drop-off and pickup. My question is, what can I wear that is subtle enough to drive the Zionists insane and still get away with it?
I mean, the big one has been watermelon stuff. I've seen a lot of people using the watermelon as sort of a stand-in avatar for free Palestine or for solidarity with Palestine.
I guess you could wear a shirt,
Plasticine action shirt.
plasticine action
Plasticine
shirt
action.
in the same spirit. You could maybe wear just off the top of my head a picture of a pig butt, which is synonym for a ham ass.
Oh, ham ass. I like
Ham
it.
ass, yeah.
Yeah, I heart.
I heart ham ass.
And then a pig butt.
Like for a pork butt.
Yeah. Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I was thinking a picture of a castle and then a picture of a fork with an arrow to just one of the little points. So it's Palestine.
Oh man.
Palestine. Yeah, very
Tine. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a
power
lot
in puns, folks.
there's power in puns. So yeah, I mean, certainly looking at some of, I mean, shit, if you really want to go for it, shirt with an upside down red triangle. I mean, fucking
Jesus.
see what happens. I don't know, man. Like, can they, reasonably argue that that is specifically a Hamas shirt? I don't know. I think you could. I think you could probably get away with it in some circles. Yeah.
All right, next we have a voicemail.
Hi, just wanted to ask when you guys are planning on doing your review of Don't Mess with the Zohan. Literally the only reason I'm not currently subscribed to Patreon yet. Love you, bye.
This is,
As reasons go.
yes, this is a great question. In terms of not subscribing because you're waiting for this episode, we hear you and we see you, and your voice matters. We will do this. I promise you.
We will earn your money.
Yeah, we've been promising, I think, Don't Mess with the Zohan, the Adam Sandler movie about a Mossad agent who just wants to be a hairstylist in New York. Yes, we need to do a Bad Hasbara movie episode about that and do an analysis of it. So far, we've only done Golda.
Yeah, we had at one point we had big ideas that we were going to do a movie episode every month or something like that.
Right.
We had talked about doing more frequently, and I wasn't even there for the Golda episode.
Yeah, that's right.
That
You
was-
weren't there for it.
that was back in, I don't know when it was.
February or
But I
something.
remember listening to that episode on a road trip I was on, and that's when I had to endure all of your fake medical reports about my anus.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
Every
right.
episode I was gone. That's what convinced me to have better attendance.
Yeah, you have a better attendance than me now.
Bad for my rectal health. To take
Yes. But we will do that. And we will have friend of the pod and movie expert Vince Mancini back on to talk about some more Israeli propaganda movies and stuff. And yeah, we'll do it. I promise you.
Maybe we could get Mamdani on and call the episode "Don't Mess with the Zoran."
Dude, I mean, listen, if he wants to do our special Patreon only movie episode, then he is welcome. Please come on. Do it.
Look, man, we see you at the Yom Kippur service clapping along. At the, but if you really want to prove your fucking bona fides
Exactly.
with the Jews, with the mainstream Jewish community,
That's right. You can't hide behind, what's his name?
Brad Lander.
Yeah, how'd you know? That's exactly what I was talking about. You can't hide behind Brad Lander this whole time.
Because that's who you could plausibly say he's hiding behind. I don't
That's
think he's
right.
hiding behind him. I think they're genuinely aligned. But
Yeah. Shout out to him, by the way. Did
He's
you
the
hear him recently? I think it was, could have been.
It was at Yom Kippur services,
Well,
right?
I think it was Yom Kippur services. And he was, it was great. We
I need to listen to it. I saw them both speak at the JFREG
Right.
Awards a few weeks ago. And to be quite frank, I preferred Lander's speech to Zoran's.
Yeah.
I really like Brad Lander a lot.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him. At the Yom Kippur services, he was brutally honest about. He didn't go to the level of unforgivable, but he was very blatant. He was very blunt about the Jewish community's need for forgiveness for entering a quote war of revenge and doing complicity in a genocide. I was like,
Bars.
Yeah, and I don't know if Lander has fully renounced Zionism yet, and on his own terms, I don't really care. Like
Yeah.
him speaking from where he's speaking from, with the level of sincerity and moral outrage that he is, I think is really, really valuable, especially in the ways that he's run interference for Zoran while people are trying to take him down in bad faith. I'll have forever respect for him for that Colbert appearance.
Yeah, in terms of like political allyship, I mean, there's I was incredibly cynical about it. I think early on, just because I didn't know his politics, and I wasn't exactly sure what the plan was. But the more I heard him speak, I mean, I just kind of in general assume any politician is going to be a snake, and I've been really kind of fucking impressed with him. So
yeah,
anyways.
a snake or a schnook. Anyway, that's your answer to your question about when you can join.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We've covered the Adam Sandler movie.
We'll get to it soon, as well as a bunch of other movies that I think we definitely need to talk about. Yeah.
All right, Bevan with a music question. I do a count of the Omer, the days from Passover to Shavuot, with songs. However, since my friend and I decided that a song like 1950 doesn't count for 19 because it's 1950, I currently have to do Hey 19 by Steely Dan, and it is a very bad song. Opinion. As a
okay,
man
Anthony
50,
Fantano, you can reveal your real.
Yeah,
you don't need to
Bevan.
assume. Sure, Bevan.
Do you have any suggestions for a song with 19 in the title?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. The song Hey 19 by Steely Dan is a fantastic song with 19 in the title. What are you talking about? What are you smoking? Hey 19 is a fantastic song. And I don't know why you would think it's not. And if you want to get an insight into why Steely Dan's lyrics are an essential... So you might... See, here's the thing. Steely Dan and Hey 19 is one of their cheesier sounding songs. It's very loungy. It's very smooth music. It's off 1980s Gaucho, which is sort of the most sanitized, almost oppressively immaculate produced albums of theirs, short of their 2000 comeback to Against Nature and the subsequent album Everything Must Go. However, Hey 19 rises to glory, and as that whole album does, on the mismatch between its clean, immaculate sound and its nebbishy, self-hating, sad sack, depressed, lecherous, and really funnily acerbic lyrics. Hey 19, that's Aretha Franklin. She don't remember the Queen of Soul. Hard times befallen soul survivors. She thinks I'm crazy, but I'm just growing old. He's talking about trying to date a 19-year-old, but they can't fucking talk about anything because this girl doesn't get his musical references. He's having a midlife crisis,
Yeah.
And then this sad refrain, which is supposed to sound like party time. The Cuervo Gold, the fine Columbia, and make tonight a wonderful thing. It's not a wonderful thing. They're sniffing coke and sipping tequila, and he's miserable, and that's what makes Steely Dan great. And if you want to have a fuller appreciation of how you too can enjoy the smooth misery of Steely Dan lyrics and have a deeper appreciation for how their songs actually work, go to my sort of defunct YouTube channel, Lyrics to Go, which I can't believe I've never mentioned on this podcast. I had tons of episodes, including a 2-part episode about appreciating the lyrics of Steely Dan. This whole channel was me talking about lyric appreciation and really listening to the words.
Yeah.
And Donald Fagen and Walter Becker are just they're musical theater writers in jazz pop compositional outfits, and they're I love that. I didn't used to love that song, but I think the more you get into the personality of the character of Steely, so I'd say no, you're probably stuck with that one. I can't think of another one with 19 in the title.
Does it have to be in the title?
I think that's the key. Yeah.
Well, then yeah, I don't know. I think I was looking up a list on Reddit with this just to give them something. But yeah, a lot of Paul Hardcastle. 19.
Yeah, 19 by Paul Hardcastle. It's an anti-Vietnam song.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good runner-up.
Yeah.
If you must.
But I believe there's probably some other ones in there. I think I saw, was it Tegan and Sarah did a song called 19? They're the ones, right? Is that are those the people who did? Oh
Yeah.
no, that's. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say all the things you said, run
That's
into my head.
Tattoo.
That's Tattoo. That's Tattoo. All right. Well, we've answered that question.
There's probably more songs for 18, right? Like 18 in Life by Skid Row.
Or 17 or 16. She was only 16. I love that song. I don't agree with the message.
When I was 17.
Yeah, see, 17's in there. 19. Not a lot of 19.
All right, David writes in, I have a mental health question for you. This was sent directly to Daniel, and then Daniel sent it to us.
Yeah. I asked him if it was okay to read on this episode, and he said yes.
Okay.
So I have a mental health question for you. You and I are the same age, and we share the same politics on Palestine and probably most issues. Your podcast is a cathartic breath of air, but the overall dark feelings are still very prominent. My question relates to anger. I have so much anger and rage, not just at Israel, but towards so many American Jewish friends and family who have failed the easiest moral test of our lifetime. We don't talk about the issue to preserve the friendships, but this makes me feel complicit in the avoidance. Thus,
So in other words, in order to preserve the friendships, you're not talking about it.
correct.
Yeah.
Thus, the feelings of alienation, loneliness, and rage. I don't mean to trauma dump on a stranger, but this topic seems up your professional alley.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's okay. Everyone trauma dumps on me for some reason, and you're not trauma dumping. You actually are asking a very vulnerable and honest question that I think is relevant for a lot of people listening. And you're just sharing about your emotional experience, and I appreciate it. I think everyone listening probably does too. What's the question at the very end of it? How does he frame it as a question?
The question is effectively
How to deal with
how
anger?
do you interact with these people and avoid discussing this thorny issue without feeling complicit yourself, or is there a way to kind of square that circle in your head?
Okay, let me try. I'm going to kind of skate around the rink of this question because it's a wide spectrum question, and hopefully we can make some nice patterns in the ice. Number one, your anger and rage and disgust are totally valid emotions. They are appropriate. They certainly some degree of anger and also sorrow and grief is I think called for here, and I think for many of us, due to our own upbringing in this culture, especially for men, feeling sadness and sorrow and mournfulness and grief is harder than feeling anger and rage. But often underneath anger and rage, there are those more tender, more vulnerable emotions that want to be felt. And if we let ourselves feel that and grieve, that can actually discharge the more toxic, like anger when it stays in you will kill you. Sadness, when it's allowed to move, will actually cleanse you. I think you're not going to die of a heart attack from being sad about the way things are in the world. But, but even sadness, if you keep it bottled up, is not good for you. So allowing these things to move somehow. Now, the people in your life, you would like the people closest to you to be people you can express yourself with and share yourself with. But it sounds like the dilemma you're coming up against is a sort of, what my dad talks about, the fundamental tension between attachment and authenticity. We want to be close to people, but we also want to be ourselves. And a lot of trauma that comes from our childhoods is that we weren't allowed to do both. If we wanted to maintain the relationships with the people closest to us, we had to suppress parts of ourselves, and then that becomes just second nature and it becomes our personality. At least in adulthood, we get to choose our relationships, and you have some agency over who you're going to have in your life and who you're not. So you have to check in with yourself. What is the toll on me of constantly having to, for the sake of the relationship, not talk about what really matters to me? That's building up a pressurized charge inside of you that might be toxic to you, that might not be good for you. It's not your friends that are toxic to you. It's the position of not being able to be yourself with the people that you have in your life so that you can be yourself.
It can be both. Though.
It could be both. Now, I'm not saying they're not, but toxicity relates. It's relative to who it's affecting, and it's affecting you.
Yeah.
So ultimately, and if you can't change them, then you have a choice to make. You may not want to have those people in your life. I would also strongly recommend, if you have the wherewithal, to do some work on looking at the anger and the rage itself, and in like a therapeutic setting. And we are not, despite what you might think, we at Bad Hasbara are not licensed mental health professionals. But I would say, with a trusted like caregiver of some kind, or in some kind of group setting, like, often anger and rage, which attach themselves to world events and world injustices and genuine things that are going on in the world, can be there can be stowaways inside of that rage that are coming from our own personal stuff. And you see it all the time in activism, where there is a lot to be angry about in the world, but we can sometimes add to it, and it gets kind of polluted or clouded by our own unprocessed grief, anger, rage at people who harmed us in our own lives, or over-identification with victims because we ourselves were victimized. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's wrong or not understandable, but I'm saying over time, if not processed and explored, can get in the way both of your personal life and your ability to be effective politically and to communicate clearly, because you're protesting against things that aren't happening now, things that happened a long time ago, and which stops you from being able to respond effectively to what is happening. As far as what to do with the people in your lives, we addressed a question similar to that in the first part of this episode, about how to communicate with like liberal Zionist friends. I would, without knowing more about these people and the specifics of your relationship, I wouldn't presume to give you any advice. It's the kind of thing that I have taken walks with people about in my mental chiropractic work. If anyone's interested in that, walkwithdaniel.com, having a conversation to sort out, okay, what exactly is going on here? What am I angry about? What are the possibilities here? What have I tried? What haven't I tried? What assumptions am I making about them? What roles am I playing with them that actually I don't need to play? I mean, maybe you're protecting them from your feelings and you don't have to. Maybe they could handle more than you think. It all depends on the situation and what you're carrying from your own past. So that's a very all over the place answer that I hope covers at least some bases that'll be helpful.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a voicemail.
Hello, Bad Hasbara. Quick question. Do you guys have access to giving us a reading list of books about Palestine? That would be lovely. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Thank you for that question. Yeah, I mean, I think that is a great idea. I almost feel like kind of in the same way Adam has a ska playlist. Having a book playlist, I think, would also
Equally important.
Yeah, no, I think it would be good.
Well, that's what's the spine, isn't it?
That is what's the spine. Yeah, but I can just go through some of my own reading list right now, just to give you guys some suggestions for stuff to read.
I got two sitting here right now, but we've interviewed both their authors.
Yeah, that's right. So those are two great ones: "Perfect Victims" by Mohammed Al-Kurd, and then what is it?
"Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza" by Peter Beinart.
Yes.
Don't worry about the title.
Palestine by
as I said to Peter, my least favorite part of this book is the title.
Yeah, and what were you saying, Adam?
I said "The 100 Years War on Palestine" by Rashid Khalidi. Yes,
another guest of ours, and I mean that's a really great book. I thought "The Message" by Ta-Nehisi Coates was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
There is, going through my list right now, "Justice for Some" by Nora Ericott. I'm not purposefully doing just people who have been our guests, but again, this is a great, this is stuff that I've read that I really thought was great. "Justice for Some" is incredible. It is, it's dense, and it is, incredibly important in terms of understanding the way in which apartheid works in the West Bank and in Gaza, and sort of the international laws that have been that were created and then completely disregarded by the West.
There's a new book out that both Matt and I have received. I don't think either of us have read it yet, called Terms of Servitude by Omar Zaza, about
Yes.
tech industry's war on Palestine. That
we
we're
are
excited to check
going
out.
to read and get to, and then do an interview.
Yeah.
And that is going to happen as soon as we read it. We of course are doing a mailbag episode because we're going to New York for these live shows, and we had to kind of put all of our focus on that. But once that's done, we should be reading that book and interviewing the author. There is an audio book. I'm sure it's also in print, but it's called On Palestine, and it's basically a conversation between Noam Chomsky and Elon Pape that I think is like incredibly good for like sort of getting kind of like a baseline understanding of the conflict in general. Conflict in quotes. And then Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, if we're talking Elon Pape, that's great.
Avi Schleim has a great book about 10 myths about Zionism or something like that.
Yeah. And then, if you haven't read it, The Israel Lobby is by, I think, Mearsheimer. What is it?
Walt and Mearsheimer.
Walt
John
and Mearsheimer. It is like, if you want to understand the American obsession with Israel and critiques of American foreign policy with regards to Israel, I mean, you can't do better than the Israel Lobby. And it's really funny how, maligned both of the authors were after it came out, and how much their careers were, stymied and suffered because of it, which is something that they knew would happen and they called out in the book. And, everything that they put in there is just like, if you want to understand, the Israel Lobby is really the place to go if you want to get into the nitty gritty of like politics, specifically in America.
I would also add to the list a graphic novel by Joe Sacco, just called Palestine. And I think he has something more recent in the same series. But, just like Maus, M-A-U-S, was a standard bar mitzvah gift for kids of my generation, depicting the Nazi Holocaust through cartoons of mice and cats and stuff like that. Joe Sacco does an incredible job rendering life in occupied Palestine through images and words. Really powerful work.
Yeah. And
right.
I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. Read that. That has nothing to do with Israel Palestine. It's really sick.
All right,
not a
we're gonna be
graphic
back-
novel, actually.
Jesus.
just comic strip.
Sorry, Adam.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be back with some more questions in just a minute, but first, we're going to take an ad break.
It's time for ad break, everyone. So stick around, listen to these ads, and we'll be right back. And we're back. As bad as Bara, world's most moral podcast, and we are taking questions from our mailbag. Thank you to everyone who submitted, and thank you to all the the free non-pay pigs who are watching and listening to this episode, because we know your regularly scheduled program is not quite here. It's a mailbag episode, and we thank you for your patience with us. And we hope you're enjoying yourself.
All right, this
Why
question.
wouldn't they be? This is great stuff.
This is better than our regularly scheduled.
Have you ever
shit.
listened to our regular shit? No, I'm saying.
Garbage.
This is the most parasocial of all episodes.
We are
That's right.
acknowledging their existence. We are.
Yes.
We're responding. We're interacting.
Yes. Yeah. You're here. We're with you on a delay.
All right, so this question is for someone I am calling DJ Yerbra Mate.
So my brother.
Yeah. I was like, Aaron.
What turntables does Daniel use for everyday spinning?
Ooh.
Good question. I have two turntables.
And a microphone.
microphone.
Where it's at. Shout out Beck,
Yeah.
I think.
In the other room, I've got I got it from Turntable Lab here in New York, and it's the TTL model of I think MMF is the MMF 1.5 from, I forget what the actual brand name is, but that's the model. You can look it up.
MMF.
Yeah,
I'm more of an
something or other.
FFM.
Yeah, that's right.
Porn.
Yeah,
Porn joke.
yeah, porn.
You're welcome.
And then in this room, I got an Audio Technica
Oh yes, classic.
AT-LP something or other. Nothing fancy. I'm not see the thing. You would think that for all of my meticulous, obsessive compulsive vinyl collecting and music trivia and lyrics trivia, I'd also be an audiophile.
Mhm.
I am not. I can't really tell the difference between like a
Vinyl and
great
digital.
pair of speakers and like a fine pair of speakers. My eyes glaze over whenever I'm reading tech specs on this turntable or that cartridge or this stylus or whatever like that. I just don't get what all the fuss is about. So I have some serviceable entry to mid-level turntables that serve me well. And maybe one day I'll have someone educate me on why I should be spending 10 times the money on marginally better equipment. But
Yeah, the answer to that
gear
is-
has never been my thing.
The answer to that is you shouldn't. And if
The
if
answer
you-
to that is girls love it when you tell them about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, I always find audiophiles to be sort of, you know what they're like? They're like $1,000 HDMI cable salesman, where you're just like, I understand that you think that I'm going to be able to tell the difference between this $15 cable and $1,000 cable, but I won't be able to. It's the same shit.
Oh, sure.
know?
You could go with the standard USB-C cable to charge your phone. You could do
Right.
that.
Yeah, but this
But,
one's plated in gold. I was like, no, fuck off.
All right, next we have Melody with a Moose and Goose question for Daniel.
Why?
As a
Okay,
Canadian-
can we stop for 1 second? Adam,
Yeah.
I also exist. We got this like 3 fucking in a row. Why am I even here?
I don't think there's been a single. This is a question for Matt.
There's not
Yeah.
been one single. I have
Don't
a
worry,
question for
I've
Matt.
written angry letters back to all of these people, excoriating them for not addressing to you.
Using
Okay.
your AI voice to be like,
Yeah. I don't like questions. I am a piece of shit. No, that's fine. No, people, I guess I'm just a chopped liver. I guess I'll just go fuck myself.
this is a question for Matt from BM Billy F. BM Billy B. Big mouth Billy Bass.
Big mouth Billy. All right, I should have. Yeah. Yeah.
Go
As
ahead.
a Canadian, what would you do if you had
Oh, one of these
Zionist
as a
coworker?
Canadian questions.
Yes. What would
Oh,
you do
he's
if you
so
had-
ethnic. I gotta ask him Canada questions. All right, that's fine.
As a Canadian, how do you wax your toque? What would you do if you had a Zionist coworker who is a member of the Inclusion and Belonging Committee, aka DEI, and they are chosen to read out the Truth and Reconciliation Land Acknowledgement in a company meeting? Also, how does Canada truly continue with the NTRC's call to action while the Canadian government continues to support Israel's genocide on Gaza? You know what, Matt? Why don't you answer the question about Canadian government if you want it so bad?
Yeah, I will answer this. I think I'll take this.
There's
What
no
do you
reason Matt
do?
can't answer that.
Also, what does it say? The Truth and Reconciliation Land Acknowledgement? Well, shit, dude. We've all been there. I don't know, Daniel. Do you have an actual answer to this question about
Well, look,
what you do with a
but
Zionist coworker?
I can feed you some context. I think you'll have some insights into this. Look,
Sure.
in Canada, Truth and Reconciliation has become. It's our version of, in this house, science matters and all that. It's just a big virtue signal for, well-meaning, don't hate me, urban, elite white people.
Interesting.
It should mean something actual. I mean, there's been genuine attempts on the behalf of First Nations communities, which is what we call Indigenous Canadians, to get some truth and to get some actual, not reconciliation, but restitution and reparations. But there are still tons, Native people in Canada still suffer from malnutrition the most, sexual
Sure.
abuse the most, addiction, poverty, lack of access to clean drinking water and other resources on their own lands. Treaties are still violated every day by pipelines.
Right.
And we've had a prime minister who will tearfully accept honors from First Nations groups and don the regalia and cry about it, but and then just approve another $1 billion pipeline across.
You've got your own
pristine
version of Nancy Pelosi doing the Wakanda fucking thing with the kente cloth on. and
that
taking
exactly.
a knee.
That's right.
Yeah.
So land acknowledgements are big in Canada before every event, and you see it too in places like New York and San Francisco. And
Sure.
whatnot. I don't know if it's like that in LA. I don't mind land acknowledgements per se, but it can be the glaring disparity discrepancy between the words and the actions can often be a lot to handle. And that's even before you fold into the mix the fact that you might end up with someone who is reading land acknowledgements while supporting or being silent about a genocide that Canada is funding
Right.
across the world. So that's
Reading an anti-smoking ad while blowing a big cigar.
Yeah.
right. I mean, I at the Vancouver airport has a lot of beautiful First Nations art, and not only art on the walls, but like when you arrive at the international terminal and you walk back towards baggage claim, you walk through like this full-on installation with like canoes and a flowing river and rocks and like the sounds of rainforest birds and whatever. And I call it the, we have a positive relationship with our native peoples memorial lounge. Like it's
Right.
even as the native artists who have provided the art there are it's great that they have the opportunity to show their work, and in a way it's great to showcase that. It also serves a PR role,
Right.
and a kind of conscience immune system boost for people who might be inclined to feel guilty about their privilege.
Yeah.
So it
Sounds like a very specific, strain of like Canadian liberalism that, I mean, we see, different versions of that in the United States. I think it's like the added indignity of it also being an openly Zionist coworker doing a land acknowledgement is like, what would you do if you had like, you mean other than derision? I don't know. Like, what are you supposed to do? It
depends what your relationship is with them.
Right.
As we've
You
said,
talk to
anytime
HR.
anyone asks us, what would you do with a Zionist in your life questions?
Right.
But you might ask them, hey, cool,
You ever seen any contradiction in doing a land acknowledgement while you were actively supporting an indigenous population being genocided? Thousands of miles away?
Do you think that should apply in all cases
Right.
of land theft and,
Yeah, and I can assume already what the answer would be, and a lot of the times with these particular types of liberal Zionists, the answer is to try to bolster the purported fucking indigeneity of all Jews to the land of Israel, and it's one of the things I hate about the conversations around the indigenousness of peoples and the struggles. Like I understand that they're being disingenuous, but in general my kind of thought is when it comes to talking about indigenous peoples, sometimes it can obfuscate a very, I think, specifically, I don't know, attainable point, or like a relatable point, which is like, what if your house was stolen from you? What if your land was taken from you? I'm not, checking the passports of the people whose house was taken. Be like, well, where are you actually from? I don't care about that. To me, I mean, obviously, it is colonialism, so that's why people put it in that specific framework. However, I think in general, people understand the concept of being mad at people who took your house, being mad at people who stole your stuff. To me, that's a much more simpler, rubric to look at it through than, something a little bit more academic and maybe a little bit more like not real to especially white people and especially Western people who are already, kind of they're already living on stolen land, so they can't help
absolutely.
but look at themselves as like, well, I mean, does that mean I'm bad? And then they get into the defense mechanisms immediately. That's my
I mean, if it was me and I was on that call, probably what I would do is something like the following. After the land acknowledgement is done, I wouldn't call out the person specifically for being a Zionist. I would just troll them by saying, thank you so much for that beautiful land acknowledgement, and this expression of the hope we all have for both truth and reconciliation, and especially for past crimes that that undergird and underwrite the regime that we're living in. And I would just invite us to think about how can we reconcile ourselves with the truth of what hasn't stopped happening, what is currently happening, not a past crime, but a present crime that our country is paying for, specifically in Palestine, done by the country, the government of Israel. How can we strive to be more consistent with the assumed values underneath the very nice sounding land acknowledgement we just heard?
Can you get away with that at jobs in Canada?
I've never had a, what did you
Job.
call it? Job?
Yeah.
No, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
if you can, that'd be
it's
sick.
not true. I've had jobs in Canada, but I was selling Persian.
Yeah,
carpets.
hand jobs.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, this
And
is why
on
no
that
one.
note-
This is why no one's asking me questions. They're like, Matt's just gonna say, "Oh, sucking dick, eating butt," and it's like, no, I have things inside of me, man, other than butt
yeah,
He
stuff.
sucks butt and
Dicks
eats
and
dick.
Dicks and hands.
Ah, come on, man.
All right, so next we have a voicemail.
Yeah, would you guys like to see pro-Palestine activists in the West bring up the Palestinian refugee issue a bit more? It feels like, we talked about apartheid, occupation, but, I feel like the refugee issue is very key for solving the Palestine question. Thanks.
Well, first of all, if I'm reading your accent correctly, sir, it sounds like you're from the southern half of this great nation, and I'd like to shout out our
southern
listeners, in the South, in Texas.
Yeah. You will rise again. Wait, you will not rise again. Never rise. But thank you for any listeners in the South. I mean, so if I understand the question correctly, he's asking if pro-Palestine activists should also be talking more about the refugee issue.
Yeah, the right of return.
Right. I assume he's talking about the Palestinian diaspora's right of return and or the amount of Palestinian refugees in maybe other Arab states in like Jordan and Lebanon and the conditions that they currently live in.
Yeah, it should always be in the foreground. I mean,
of course. Yeah.
And you can really tell when someone has made the journey fully made the journey from a sort of a Zionist framework to an anti-Zionist framework when they're willing to. And so, for instance, Shail Ben Ephraim, the liberal, the ex-liberal Zionist that I interviewed on this show not too many months ago, back in the summer. Back then, he was still teetering on the fence. Now he's posting things like this.
Yeah.
All this shit won't end until the genocide ends, the occupation ends, apartheid ends, and Palestine is free, and there's a right of return for all Palestinian refugees.
Right. Yeah,
and those are the bottom lines.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of pro-Palestine activists, I mean, depending on how much of public figures they are, or who their audience is, the way in which they talk about it can kind of seem like 101 for a lot of us. And so when people aren't addressing the right of return for Palestinians, I don't always necessarily view that as a criticism unless they are actively against it. Depends who it is and depends who their audience is. I think that people who don't talk about it for the specific reason of trying to, get more people to, call more people into the cause in one way or another. I can understand it as getting into the weeds for some people. Because then you're talking about logistics all of a sudden, and I think like some people are just trying to spread the message that this is an apartheid state that's doing a genocide and this needs to end.
Look, it's also so diabolical. One of the successes of Zionism is to fracture and fragment what it is to be Palestinian into 5 or 6 connected but very fractured parts of that whole. Sorry, I just thought of the South Park video game, The Fractured Butthole.
I mean, listen, and yet people still ask you questions mostly.
That's right.
It's unfair. He's also weird.
You've got Palestinians in Gaza who are suffering something very distinct and local there. Physiologically not contiguous with, but obviously very connected to Palestinians in the West Bank who are suffering what they're suffering, but under a different set of circumstances. And they themselves are physically contiguous, but politically separate from Palestinians in East Jerusalem. And they can't travel there even the few miles. And then East Jerusalem, you
And
go
then you've got
across
Jordan.
Let's start with West Jerusalem and the rest of 48 Israel. And they're an entire other people virtually, in terms of their own set of concerns and dilemmas and whatever. And they're the ones we rarely talk about or think about because they're inconvenient for everyone, quite frankly. And then you've got the refugees in the surrounding areas. And then you've got the Palestinian diaspora here and all over the Western world.
Right.
How are you supposed to treat this as a singular issue? It's hard. Now people have found a way by connecting it all to the root, and the perpetrator, which is Zionism and Israel. And once we take care of that, once we dismantle that structure, then all of these disparate pieces can start to come back together again. But it's difficult to keep your eye on everything at once, I would say.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. This conversation reminds me a little bit of the Beinart book that we just read and talked about with Peter Beinart. And, one of the issues he brings up a couple of times in the book is the name of the state as being like something that has to be worked out, like unlike South Africa, which could stay South Africa without there, being any complaints from any part of the population. Keeping the name as Israel or changing it to Israel Palestine was, something he brings up a few times. And for me, I was, it was like it was a issue that I was interested in, but a more cart before the horse type of thing. And that's not to say it's the same. Obviously the refugee issue is paramount to understanding, and to understanding both what's happening and to also having I think a cogent analysis of it.
Was he really in the book raising that as a major
It wasn't-
obstacle, or was he sort of saying, "Look, we can deal with that when we get there"?
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that Beinart was raising it as a major obstacle, but I thought of it as I was reading it. I was like, this is like one of those, like I made a joke about this where it's like just call it Palestine with the STEIN, and like a Goldstein, right, or Liebenstein, but
Finkelstein, for that matter.
Yeah, and so to me, I think of it as like he was tying it to sort of a broader issue with what happens after, and I am connecting it to this only in such to like point out that there's a logistical issue here where it's like there's a little bit, again, it's cart before the horse. I do think that people should have an analysis on this. I don't fault anyone who is going to not get into the weeds. I will fault anyone who is against the idea of a Palestinian right of return. To me, that is not compatible with being anti-Zionist. Yeah, or human. But I mean, yeah, it's like what the negotiation is after the state of Israel has collapsed, that is going to be, something that I am not a part of. Sort of like the end of apartheid in South Africa. I was not a part of the conversation of like, what the makeup of the state was going to be and what truth and reconciliation was going to look like. So I don't feel a total, need for everyone to necessarily comment on it, but I do agree activists in general should have an analysis about it.
Andrew on the request line, I'm curious if you have a plan to discuss Israel's historic support of apartheid in South Africa, maybe on a survey of historic Hasbara.
Did we not talk about that with Tony Karen?
I'm sure we did, but I mean, in terms of going more in depth, we probably could and should.
That sounds like one of those episodes that would require us to learn things in advance.
Oh, I know a lot about South Africa. That's yeah. So I could
Great.
lead that. I read Long Walk to Freedom.
Matt's seen Lethal Weapon 2 7 times.
Yeah, diplomatic immunity. So I know that. Yeah, and
Yeah, I made a mistake on that episode saying it was coming to saying it was Beverly Hills Cop 2, but actually it was Lethal Weapon 2.
that's right. Yeah,
But you're
and
black.
yes, yeah. What an accent. Yeah, and Long Walk to Freedom is very good, and also the book that the
Australia
movie-
and South Africa are, I think that that's all we need to know about whether white people should go to the Southern Hemisphere to create countries.
Well, it's like, oh, well, how does the accent sound when they get there? Shitty.
Exactly. English
Yeah.
speakers should not be settling that part
South
of
of
the globe.
the
It just
equator.
turns your accent all wonky.
It sounds weird. I'm from South Africa.
I think we can just stop it at English people should not be settling.
That's
Yeah. Stop settling. Stay bachelors.
All right. Phoenix asks, is a two-state solution not akin to separate but equal in some way? Or
Yes.
is a true equality just so unattainable that it is the only reasonable path to saving the Palestinian people from this genocide right now?
Well, look, first of all, a two-state solution is not akin to separate but equal. It's separate but unequal. But of
Yeah,
course,
separate
anyone
and
who
unequal.
says anyone who used the phrase separate but equal was probably gunning for some kind of entrenched inequality anyway. So
Right. Yeah.
six of one,
The
half
people
dozen of
who
the
said
other.
separate but equal were did not believe that the
They were
separation
unegalitarian.
yeah was equal. And-
because the two-state solution, any solution in which the Jewish state of Israel continues to exist cannot allow an equal Palestinian entity to exist. And an equal Palestinian entity would mean an entity with exactly the number of same billions of dollars of U.S. support, with
That's
a
right.
military of its own, an air
right.
force, with
with sovereignty
sovereignty
of
over
any
its
kind or
borders.
anything
Yeah.
that would be even partially considered to be sovereignty. Like
with contiguous territory. It's just not.
Israel can't even
What's
live
for dinner?
with Lebanon existing.
Yeah.
You think that they can, live with a non-contiguous or contiguous Palestinian state? No, and it's because of Zionism specifically. There is no solution that allows Zionism to continue to exist. Even if there was two states, right? You still have a Zionism in which a demographic majority of Jews is necessary in order for it to continue being a Jewish state. That can't be maintained without Nazi stuff happening. That can't be maintained without, like, how do you control a population's birth rate? You know what I mean? How do you control immigration and whatnot without backsliding into fascism the way that they would certainly do. So, when I hear two-state solution, I think a lot of us, we know it's like, it's like a fucking southerner in the fucking Jim Crow South saying separate but equal. We know what you mean when you say two-state solution, which is just like a continued status quo of inequality and
Maybe in the
apartheid.
future state of the future free state of Palestine, they could throw the Zionists a bone, and so to speak, and turn the the decommissioned nuclear power plant of Dimona into a giant like AI hologram simulation of the before times when Zionism reigned, like a theme park,
Yes,
for people who are going through withdrawal.
Right.
To go and enjoy the good old days, but you have to quarantine from the rest of the population for a full month after you attend.
Yeah.
And there's exit programs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of methadone.
Yeah, and in terms of like, the realpolitik of it all, and people who say that people who are anti-Zionists and do talk about the possibility of a two-state solution, I again look at a lot of this as cart before the horse. I don't know what the negotiation's going to be when Israel eventually collapses, and I am not there to as a voice and a activist or whatever the fuck. I'm not going to immediately concede. the idea of like immediately handing over a rhetorical concession when I'm not even in the fucking room and, you know, speaking out for a two-state solution to me is like kind of ridiculous. It's like, if you want to project what you think might happen, fine, but I'm not going to advocate for the continuance of Zionism, and I never would. So, you know,
And I don't think, and any basis, even tactically, on which you could have argued, and Finkelstein did throughout the aughts, that BDS was making a strategic error because, you know, if you want to use international law as your impetus for changing things, then if you want to go at the green, you have to stop at the red, and Israel is recognized as a state. Well, but international law has completely collapsed. Humanitarian law has completely collapsed. Israel's seen to it. And the facts on the ground have made, and I don't hear Norman talking about his two-state solution anymore.
yeah.
You know, so I mean, he never thought it was the moral solution.
No, of course not. Of course not.
But he made the distinction between the law and the application of the law, and moral rights versus political strategy. And those are valuable distinctions.
Of
But in
course.
2025, I don't think we're living in the same world that we were.
Right. Yeah. And I always put myself in a, you know, position of, you know, am I someone who necessarily needs to opine, you know, in that matter? And I don't see that as my role. You know, I don't see it as like, I'm not gonna, I just, it's something I personally hate when people immediately are like, here's the state I see. And it's like, I don't care. If
We're not running for office.
Are
We
you on the
don't all have
negotiating
to have.
committee?
yeah,
What's that?
exactly. I don't
What
want
was
a negotiating committee. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just like, here's what I think should happen. Cool. Are you a diplomat or just...
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not all running for office. We don't have to have a complete raft of political positions on every conceivable thing. Like, here's my platform.
Right. And I think it's a trap a lot of the times, you know, and people, I think, too easily fall into it, in which they go, well, what are you going to do in the Middle East? How are you going to solve it? You're so smart.
And they all have that voice.
They all have that voice. Oh, you think you're so smart, huh, girl? They're usually yelling at a girl. It doesn't happen to me that much. It happens to, like, you know, Emma Vigeland or something like that, or Rania Kalik, who was just like getting yelled at by someone. Oh, you're smart.
Then
what
how
are
come you have
do?
ovaries?
Yeah. What are you gonna do, girl? How are you gonna solve the Middle East crisis? You're a girl. That's how they talk.
All right, so Anand asks, nothing seems to have changed in 2 years. I know the podcast has a whole mix of anti-Zionist Jews, but do you guys honestly believe you represent the Jewish community at large, which continues to institutionally and overwhelmingly support Israel and their so-called right to defend itself?
When have we ever said anything that made you think that we think we represent the Jewish community at large?
We do not.
If we represented the Jewish community at large, we wouldn't need to do this podcast.
You gotta stop saying at the top of every episode that this is the opinion of world Jewry. I think that's what's confusing people.
Welcome to Bad Hasbara, the voice of Judaism.
Yeah, the world's only Jewish people.
All right, well, Anand has a little more to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Say?
The majority-
I thought we weren't allowing statements.
It's questions. It's in there.
Yeah, there's
What are
some
the words?
QMs
What are the words?
at the end.
Sorry, we've been doing this recording now for about 2.5 hours. We're getting a little punchy.
Yeah.
The majority of Jews are Zionists and will continue to be. Even if they're supposedly critical of Netanyahu, there's no indication that will ever change. Every Jew I know is still rabidly Zionist. Quite honestly, how do you not feel futile when all you can do is just dunk on losers on Twitter when they're getting everything they want? Israel is going to win. It feels like Palestine has no future.
Well, that is
That's dangerously close to a statement, Adam.
yeah.
That's dangerous. That's got real statement
There was
energy
in
with a
there,
little
there was
question
the-
with a question mark slipped in there to make it sound interrogative.
Yeah. It should have ended with thoughts. No,
Just wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm happy
We love you,
to deal with this. What kind of, I mean, it's hard to tell whether or not that's a bad faith question, or that is just a frustrated, listener. And to be honest, it's like I don't blame any of our actual listeners for having. For being pessimistic. It's hard to not be pessimistic, but we I will take it as if it is in good faith. I think it might be.
Yeah.
So first, do you guys honestly believe you represent the Jewish community at large?
No.
We have never
know we don't.
ever claimed to represent the Jewish community at large. We do not represent the majority opinion of Jews at large, nor
And even if we could claim that we have played a small part in a small uptick of Jewish support for Palestinian rights and Jewish disgust with Israel and Zionism, even if we wanted to claim that we've made some contribution to that, and I don't think it's
And we do.
implausible. Well, I don't think it's implausible to say we made some contribution. Whatever,
Right.
We're part of something. Hannah
Yeah.
Einbinder's made a contribution.
right.
That still
Not
wouldn't
on
be
this
nearly
show, she
enough.
hasn't.
It wouldn't be enough. We wouldn't be able to say the tide has turned. We would not be able to say Jews at large have been saved or denazified from Zionism,
Yes.
thanks to us or anything else.
Right. And, it goes on in the question, the majority of Jews or Zionists will continue to be, even if they're supposedly critical of Netanyahu. There's no indication that will ever change. I feel like that to me feels like a lot of like, I see the future. It's like mixing a
Yeah.
few things.
Yeah.
Number one, it's the idea
And only
that
we can do mysticism and predicting the future.
Exactly. If you're not a Kabbalah practitioner,
When we look into our Kristall Nacht ball, we
that's
see,
right. Yeah. Crystal knocked Kabbalah and too many. I've added too much to the pun. There's two things going on there where it's like the assumption that the people who are critical of Netanyahu, we're talking about the liberal Zionists and a lot of kind of mainstream Jewish institutions that have even slightly, dissented from the voice of the whole or whatever. The furthest they've gone is just being like, Netanyahu's the problem. From an institutional level, yes, I agree that there doesn't seem to be any indication that these institutions are going to change. We talked about this with Peter Beinart on our previous episode about it being kind of, it's hard to know what the strategy is, inside of the Jewish community, whether it's like trying to co-opt those institutions or create our own. And I, still do not know the answer to that. I think the idea when you say things like the majority of Jews are Zionists and will continue to be forever and ever.
You don't know
Yeah,
that.
you don't know
You
that.
can't know that.
And I see that as like particularly insidious because of the fact that it also it's acting as if Zionism it's Zionist propaganda that Zionism is somehow fundamental to Judaism and fundamental to the Jewish people, when it is very much, as we've said on this podcast 1,000 times, a modern construct. It is very much the modern. Zionism is from 100 years ago. That's it.
And it's not a special kind of person who can be cured of their Zionism. The fact is, it's curable.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot of factors mitigating against that.
Right. There's a lot of money against
a lot of
it,
money,
too.
a lot of emotional currency that's been invested in it. A lot of people's, and it's all emotional. This is the thing, guys. Like, we're talking about politics, but especially when it comes to tribal stuff like this, people's attachment to their Zionism is an attachment in their minds, and Peter makes this point beautifully in his book, to family, to places of worship, to places of early childhood education, to things people cling to for their ideas about themselves. And people do not give up their identities easily unless there's something else being offered to them that they can find appealing, or they just think they can't live with the contradictions anymore. And all we can do is keep applying the pressure of speaking what we see as the truth and heightening the contradictions in people, and making it harder and harder for the cognitive dissonance to dwell inside one mind, and increasing that the intensity of it and spreading it to the point where more, and you never know when you're making popcorn, you're fucking, the kernels are sitting there in the pan and nothing's happening, and then one pops, another one pops, and then before you know it, you lift the lid off and the whole thing's popped. And there's a few kernels at the bottom who, And what's true is some people will never get out. That's true.
Some of those
People.
some of those Jews will never pop into corn.
That's exactly right.
Is that what you're saying?
Pop into cornfeld.
Yeah.
But look, this goes for politics in general.
Yeah.
You don't do work for you listen to podcasts for instant gratification.
Yes.
If you're looking to have a hit of, oh wow, some people agree with me and they're charismatic, funny, handsome, and have great skincare,
and then Matt's there
jokes,
too.
and also Matt is there.
Mm-hmm.
You turn into a podcast every week, and that's partly what we're here for. It's an IV drip of nutrients, right? But we're not going to stay in your bloodstream forever, and we're not going to make a damn bit of like immediate difference to the situation. Politics is something different. Politics takes a lot of patience, and true culture is based on a willingness to work towards outcomes you will not live to see.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to keep the faith and not have your investment in values be contingent upon you reaping the benefits in your lifetime? I don't mean to come down hard on you, Anand, but I think your question is speaking to a thread of despair that's probably running through many of us and wondering when the fuck is this going to change? And if not, what's the point? Well, we each have to decide for ourselves what we want to be a part of and what we want to stand for, whether or not the change is in the offing or not.
Yeah, and in terms of feeling futile when all you can do is dunk on losers on Twitter, when they're getting everything they want, the
answer is to dunk on more losers.
Yeah, if one or two losers doesn't do it for you, 3 or 4 might. And if you, I don't know, if you find yourself, I think, feeling, that this is all futile, just know that you are listening to a podcast. This is not, I wouldn't necessarily prescribe podcasting consumption as a method of feeling good about world.
Much less Twitter. Like, get off Twitter permanently if that's how you're feeling.
Yeah, and when you say like, they're all the Zionists, at the end of the day they're getting what they want. It's like, yeah, I know that's why we do this, is because of the fact that it because we don't want them to win, and that's why we do it. And I think like the pessimism of Israel's going to win and Palestine has no future, to me, is like I would say, you could probably take that to a therapist.
Touch grass.
And that, not to be mean about it, but I feel like the amount of resiliency that I've seen within Palestinians during, living out conditions that I could never imagine myself living through. They seem to be more, I don't know, they have more resilience than that. So
they're capable of, and the resilience is not just a bitter survivalism. There's joy.
Yeah.
There's love, there's heart, and there's hope. I mean, that's the word
music
samud
and
means
poetry.
steadfastness. What's that?
There's music and there's poetry.
And there's music and there's poetry. And samud, steadfastness, after which the global samud flotilla was named. And really glad to see our friend Tig is free. Have we heard any news about Greg Stoker?
He's free. He's free too.
Okay.
Greg and Tig are free.
That's good. Steadfastness. Again, like what I said, like fighting for something not because there's a win that's coming like tomorrow or whatever, but because it gives you life to do so. And it's fine to take a break. If you're at the point where you're so black-pilled that it's just the more you see, the more depressed you get and the less heartened you get, well, then go tend to your heart.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that is, to me, the most important advice is you should prioritize your mental health in all of this, because you are not, if what you're trying to do is enact change in some way, you're not going to be useful if you are this depressed and pessimistic. And a lot of our listeners, enacting change is not necessarily, they're not listening to this to learn, different ways to be active necessarily. It's for a lot of it is just kind of like getting together and being like, we're the sane ones. Everyone else is fucking crazy. And I think that is a more healthy way to engage with any content and any podcasting is remember that it's done by the stupidest people in the world sometimes. So
This podcast may be food for you, it may be fuel for you, but primarily it's a laxative.
yeah.
It allows you to let go of the shit that isn't serving you.
And I just want to say because I think that's, to me, this is a great question to go out on, even though it's, it's low key pessimistic. I want to say, just in terms of fighting that bit of pessimism, I look at all of the, sort of way in which people engage with this, and they see the nothing changing, and they're looking at things through this very, a lens that I think is understandable, which is that like you're seeing very slow moving action while people are being genocided every day. And it all feels, for some people it can feel futile and whatnot. But if you do kind of take a step back and try to look culturally at the very least at what has changed, I think you would be surprised as to the amount of like cultural change and the way the wind is blowing in terms of how people are talking about this. I've never seen so much support for Palestine in my life, and this is something that I've cared about and talked about for a long time. So I still have optimism because I can look at it from a longer view. That doesn't, of course, doesn't mean the genocide will end tomorrow. And we can only hope that it does, but I don't know.
No human being has ever seen a tectonic plate shift.
Yeah.
That's never been witnessed ever by anyone.
Except
doesn't
for
mean it
Vince's
didn't
mom.
happen. Doesn't mean it hasn't profoundly influenced everything about the planet we live on.
That's
and
right.
doesn't mean it's not happening just because you can't see it or feel it.
Absolutely. Guys, I think that's it. I think that is our mailbag episode. We invite you to please listen to our answers to other questions on the Patreon. So go to patreon.com/badasbara if you would like to listen to those Patreon exclusive episodes. Thank you to everyone who submitted. It was very cool how many people were eager to write into us. Thank you to all those who have questions for Daniel, not me. I don't even care. Obviously, I'm not bothered. I am booked and busy. I have self-esteem that no man can put asunder. And thank you to producer Adam for getting all these messages together.
My pleasure.
Patreon.com/badasbara, badasbara@gmail.com for your questions, comments, and concerns. We will be back with our regularly scheduled guest episodes very soon. But for now, thanks for listening. And until next time, from the river to the sea.
You guys sure ask questions separately but unequally.
Yeah, that's true.
Jumping jacks was us. Push-ups was us. Krav Maga us. All karate us.